Welcome to Science, Health and Healing Library of Children's Health Core. I'm Dr. Majid Ali. The subject of this article is Children's Diabetes 2, who suffers most? Here are some statistics published in a large study in the spring of 2012. 42% of close to 700 children with type 2 diabetes included in this study were from poor families. I should say very poor families. So the yearly income of the family was under $25,000. Another 34%, the family income was under $50,000. So if you add 34 to 42, that comes to 76%. About 40% were Hispanic, 33% were Black children, 20% were white children, 6% were American Indians, less than 2% were Asians. I'm going to suggest that if you've not, please watch the first program on this childhood type 2 diabetes series entitled An Epidemic Predicted. I tell you my reasons why I'm comfortable predicting an epidemic. This article said that from year 2002 to 2005, an average of 3,600 new cases of type 2 diabetes in children were diagnosed. I think that's a gross underestimation, but my sad prediction is that the next time they publish the result, by let's say the data for this year 2012, it's going to be at least 1,000% more. I also predicted that this epidemic is going to leapfrog. So coming back to this article, who suffers most? But this is just the beginning. Let me point out one more time that 40% of children were Hispanics, only 2% were Asian. The reason is the Asian immigrants still have different habits of diet, but I think in general, they are much more tuned to the educational needs of their children because they're new immigrants. New immigrants are always much more interested in the education and the health of their children because they recognize that America is a great opportunity for them, and they want their children not to have the same disadvantages that the new immigrants have. It's my sad prediction that in the next 10 years, this number of Asian children with type 2 diabetes is also going to leapfrog. It is also my sad prediction that 25 years from now, there will be no difference in the rates of type 2 diabetes in Hispanic children or Indian children or African American children or the Native American children. Now, in part one of this program, An Epidemic Predicted, I gave you the reason, the scientific basis of my prediction. Please watch that. Briefly, I will tell you that diabetes, first and foremost, is an oxygen problem. And as the incremental threats to oxygen metabolism of children take hold, so they would bring in their wake the epidemic of type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes of childhood, briefly, is an acute injury to the pancreas and it stops making insulin and the child needs insulin injection. Type 2 diabetes is the opposite of that. The pancreas is producing too much insulin. The child is an insulin toxic, the number one cause of excess weight and obesity among children in my own practice is insulin toxicity. And as I see the rise of insulin toxicity increasing, so I predict, sadly, but with complete confidence, that my prediction will not be proven wrong. This subject is so important to me that if you just put the words insulin toxicity, even without my name on YouTube, you'll come to close to 70 articles that I have posted, and I've illustrated a very large number of profiles. So, who suffers most? Right now, you are beginning to see the tip of this iceberg. And the children which are most vulnerable, Hispanics, which may be for some familial reasons, then blacks, then whites, and Asian, Indian, and the children. And it's my sad prediction that every child in the United States 10, 15, 20 years from now will suffer from type 2 diabetes with equal frequency. Children's Health Code is a foundation that my wife Talat and I founded 4 years or so, maybe a little bit more. Our purpose was to disseminate authentic information about children's health, focusing on issues of nutrition, environment, and stress. Yes, children do suffer stress, increasingly so. And of course, we wanted to present information which was untainted by corporate influences, either directly or in the children's food industry or the American Pediatric Association, which is heavily indebted for funding to the very people who are unleashing this epidemic of childhood type 2 diabetes. Please watch the other segments on this series. This is a crucial issue. In my book, Dr. Ali's Plan for Reversing Diabetes, there are two important chapters. One is insulin toxicity, which is the central problem in type 2 diabetes of childhood. Of course, always caused by those factors in the bowel, blood, and liver, gut fermentation, leaky gut state, undiagnosed mold and food allergy. So here is the connection. Poor children are being exposed to poor hygienic home environments and much greater load of mold toxins. And so they get overgrowth of these yeast in the gut fermentation, leaky gut state. I'm a pathologist. I have published a very large number of articles documenting our own original data of how gut fermentation, leaky gut stage, excess production of mold toxins directly poison ATP energy generation in the mitochondria. And that leads to buildup of acids and grease on the cell membranes, rancid fats, tangled proteins, sticky sugars, cellular waste, molecular debris. And that builds grease on the cell membranes, which immobilizes insulin receptor protein. That's the fundamental basis of my prediction. And it is also explains to you what is happening to these children now and what I'm afraid will continue to happen. So please look at the other segments in this series. I hope that you will consider forwarding these YouTube segments to your Facebook, email, Twitter contacts. If you're a teacher, I hope that you will consider giving it to the parents of your children. Our vision at Children's Health Core is to provide authentic information untainted by corporate influences to people all over the world. So this is a global effort to get authentic, scientifically sound information to parents of children worldwide so they can make informed, intelligent decisions to detect insulin toxicity early, to reverse insulin toxicity so that their children do not get diabetes, and if they do have type 2 diabetes, it really is reversible. It is reversible in the first 5, 10, 15 years. But it cannot be reversed with drugs or just by focusing on the diet, by which I mean, as the researchers did in this study, they're giving them the same diet, more of it, and of course it's heavy on starches, and you can never lose diabetes if your gut fermentation issues, leaky gut state issues, excess mold toxin production issues are not addressed. So I hope that you will join our effort. Thank you for joining me. Until we meet again, may you be gracious, graceful, and generous in your spirit. Thank you. Thank you so much.